Hey there, YouTube. Welcome to Artichoke Dip. My name is Rob, solo tabletop gamer. And I haven't done one of these in a while. I decided to do tabletop talk. You, me, cup of coffee, and chit-chat about a few things. Kind of talk about some game products and other things that are on my mind and all about gaming. And I started this video and it was completely different, and then something had happened this weekend. Something that kind of changed my perspective a little bit, if you will. And what I'm talking about are friends. So, a gentleman that I grew up with, wow, my whole entire teenage life, and he was the best man at my wedding, my best friend. Anyways, he, gamer just like me, tabletop, loves electronic gaming, and, I mean, man, good guy, really good guy. But unfortunately, he sustained an injury years back, and it left him disabled to where tabletop gaming wasn't really an option for him anymore. And electronic gaming pretty much became his main go-to, particularly because of a wireless controller. It's easy for him to be able to do that than sit at a table. And more recently, he just found out he has to go back in, and the fusion that they put into his back for his spine, they have to remove it and they have to redo that surgery again. So he has to endure all that all over again. And my heart goes out to him, but the thing about it was he called me out and he gifted me his entire game collection, his tabletop game collection, and he says, I can't do it anymore. He says it's collecting dust, and he says I want it to go to somebody who's actually going to use it and get some use out of it. And I was honored. I now have all the 3rd edition stuff I could ever want. I have just about every single book now ever put in print for 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons, and even more than that. But that's not the point. I'm honored that he gave me the collection, and of course I'll put it to good use. But the element of it there is the times that we did share. And I guess those are the things I'll never forget. And I'm sure all of us can relate to that in one way or another. I'm sure those of you watching this out there, somebody probably introduced you to a RPG system. Maybe it was a childhood friend of yours that was the first time you've ever slayed a goblin. Was, a friend DM'd for you and ran a short scenario game so you could learn how to play the game system. And I have to say, cherish those moments, man. Cherish those moments. And particularly if you're a younger viewer watching this right now and you're just getting into tabletop gaming and you're just discovering it, and maybe you and a couple of friends are gathered around at the table, and just remember, take heed, cherish those moments, and remember them, because the day will come when you'll look back and you remember those were the good times, because it's hard to know when are the good times when you're living in them, because it's happening right then and there at that moment, and you don't realize these are the good times. Now, I don't want to make this all melodramatic and a downer. That's not where I'm going with this. I just wanted to give a very special shout out to my friend Eric, and give him a very, very, thank you very much. And I know it's hard for him, and with that thought in mind, I want to talk about a few things that I want to talk about a few products, a few things that first of all, that he gifted me, and I think it'd be very interesting. And maybe in the future, now when I say in the future, because I noticed there's a lot of comments. People will say, will you do an update with this? Will you play this game system? Will you play that? So, contrary to popular belief, I don't get a chance to game every single day. As a matter of fact, the videos I've been uploading, I hope you guys are enjoying those. I am literally recording my game sessions on Friday night and editing them and put them up online. And so I really don't have, between work and family, taking care of family, raising a family, that time I do get, I record it. So what I'm trying to say is be patient, hang in there. RPGs, they take time. They take time. And I kind of want to stay focused on what I'm doing right now and see that through. The last thing I want to do is take on another project, because what's going to wind up happening is I'm going to go all out on this particular project over here and forget all about what I started, and then it's going to be hard to get back into it. So I want to stick with Temple of Elemental Evil for a while. Let's see where that takes us. It could be a total party kill. Don't know. I mean, I don't want to give any spoilers out, but I will just tell you things will change. I'm just going to leave it at that. And I don't think I got my disclaimer out of the way first. If you like this video, click the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe button, followed by the bell icon. Every time I upload a new video, you'll get a notification so you don't miss one. But let's talk about a few of these game systems that came out around 3rd edition. Now, for a lot of you out there watching, I'm sure you're familiar with 3rd edition. You may even have it in your library. For those of you that are just now getting into tabletop gaming, I'm going to give you a real brief, quick history. So, before 3rd edition, there was no such thing as open game licensing. There was D&D that was owned by TSR, and then TSR was bought out by Wizards of the Coast, and they continued with the 2nd edition for a while, and then 3rd edition came out. When 3rd edition came out, it turned everything kind of, the whole tabletop RPG industry, if you will, on its head, so to speak, but in a good way. Because what they did is they came out with this thing, they said, hey, open game licensing, which means as long as your game system is compatible with the main core rules or the player's manual of basic, advanced D&D, 2nd edition, or 3rd edition, hey, go right ahead, do whatever you want to do. Make up a game system, put it out there, and let's game. Which is really cool. And out of that, a lot of different game systems came out that people still cherish and love till today. Now, one of them, and I have to admit, this is when I saw this, it brought a smile to my face, because when this game was a video game out on the PS2 console, what was it? Champions of Norath. I remember many late nights, a couple friends of mine, Eric being one of them, me and Dale, staying up to the wee hours of the morning. After a long day's work going into the weekend, sometimes meeting up at Dale's house and getting there before the sun goes down, playing all the way through the evening, to leave the following morning after the sun has come back up, and you're just trying to do everything you can do to keep your eyes open to drive home to go to bed. But that game right here, EverQuest, and this is 3rd edition, and as you can see, it's licensed from Sony Online Entertainment. It's a unique game. It's a unique setting. I'm gonna say it's very much like D&D, if you will, but settings are a little bit more differently to... it's hard to explain. There's a lot of similarities, but there are differences, and you would have to experience it to be like, oh, okay. but they're cool. And the character classes in here that you have, well, everything you would come to expect out of the basic 3rd edition main core rule book, such as your bard, your cleric, a druid, and you would have your wizard or your magic user, however you wanted to look at that, your rogue, and then a paladin and a ranger. But this is where it's different. In this game system, you have an enchanter, a magician, a necromancer, a shaman, a dedicated fighters, warriors, hybrid classes, which is going to be like your cross classes. I haven't read this yet. I mean, literally, last night, I'm filming this on Monday night. I brought this home, all this stuff home Sunday evening. I had come in the door. It was late in the evening. You know, my wife is a saint. Thank God I love her so much. She had a shelving unit ready for me to go that I was able to put up next to my other shelving unit that I have all my other library on, so I could put these books away and get them put up for the evening. So as I was sorting through them, I pulled a couple of these and put them towards the top like I wanted to look at. So this is literally the first time I'm cracking this book open. Well, I can't say that. I cracked it open before I went to work, and I looked at the classes, the contents page right here real quick, and then it was like, okay, it's time to go. And here I am back at it. But you also have the Beast Lord and Shadow Knights that goes into this as well. So very interesting game, and I'm kind of looking forward to this. I have all the main core rule books. I have the player's manual, which we could say the same as they call it the Game Master's, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and the Creature Collection. Of course, as you can see, it is all based in the world of Norath. So this is going to be very, very interesting, and I can foresee something, maybe a short intro campaign, not campaign, but adventure I might do in this and run it and see how it goes from there. The cover art's fantastic. I mean, right back to what I remembered from the Sony 2. Man, and now, if you're not familiar with EverQuest, I think it's still going to today. I'm not sure, but EverQuest was the very first mass media online role-playing game. As a matter of fact, my friend Eric called it Evercrack. That's what he called it. And anytime he had any spare time, he was always on his computer. You know, I'd call him and be like, hey man, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm playing Evercrack. So, and when it came out on Sony 2, because at that time I didn't have a computer. We didn't have a computer in our house. None of that. And it wasn't until it came out on Sony 2 and it was like, hey, check this out. Got this new game, and popped it in, and I was just totally hooked. I mean, it was just, oh man, over the top. Good times. Good times. The other one I wanted to talk about that he had gifted me, and it's very interesting. Some of you may be familiar with this. This is going to be new to me. So this is going to be material I'm going to have to familiarize myself with. I know he picked it up. He loved this book series and read it. And he said it was the reason why he picked up this book. And that is The Wheel of Time. And once again, this is based in 3rd edition. So the nice thing about that is, if you're familiar with 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons, or 3rd edition I should just say, basically, you already know how to create a character, you already know how to run the system, you already know how the skills, the feats, bonuses, you know all of it. That doesn't change from the game system. All those mechanics are still the same, which is makes it much easier to learn a new game, particularly, and when you get into that. Now, this one, the classes, like I said, I'm going to have to read this. I don't want to say anything I don't know anything about, so I'm gonna just have to sit down and I'm gonna have to thumb over this and read this and check this out and see what I can do with this as well. Then when I'm ready, and I think I know enough of the background. Like I said, I'm gonna have to look into the Wheel of Time, and might have to find a book or two and familiarize myself. Now, from what he told me, if I am correct, the Wheel of Time, I believe, is based in the Tolkien world, if you have it, in the Middle Earth. I don't know. If you're a huge fan of the Wheel of Time, feel free to leave me a comment, and I'll be more than happy to be educated on that one. Like I said, the Wheel of Time was one of those things that I heard about it through my friend Eric. He loved to read the books, so he told me all about that. So the other thing I want to get into and I want to talk about is I had, before I was gifted all these books, I was cleaning out my Amazon cart. I was going through it, and what wound up happening was I had pre-ordered a book and kind of forgot about it, forgot it was in my cart. The pandemic thing hit, everything got slow, was laid off from work. So of course all excess spending stopped, and I found that, and it was still in my cart, pre-ordered, and I still got the pre-order price for it, and I was like, whoa, wow, okay, yeah, cool, because I looked at the list price now, and it was way more than what I got it for in the cart, and I thought, well, I'd be a fool to delete this and not get it, so I did, and I was surprised Amazon honored it. They sent it to me, and that is this book right here, which is the Game Master's Book of Random Encounters. So, this book, I went over this, oh man, it's such a good book. Veteran players, maybe you've played in groups and you have found yourself with this pandemic and social distancing that, you know, groups aren't happening anymore. I mean, let's face it, they're talking about movie theaters might be going away for good if they don't get a bailout. So, you know, they're saying the entertainment industry as a whole is doing horrible. So I know the game stores cannot be doing that great. I mean, I think the days of going to your local game shop, whether it's to pick up a booster of Magic cards or to pick up a new RPG release, or to go and DM a game, or to sit in on a game, or to buy some minis, or buy a new thing of dice, and be able to walk in that door and have it packed, you know, almost front to back with people everywhere. I think those days are long off before we see those again. So for a lot of people, maybe that's where they went to game, and they're now looking into the solo idea, which is okay. Hey, if that's the case, welcome aboard. Or perhaps you're just starting out, you have nobody else to play with, and you're, you know, doing the solo thing. Cool. Or you're like me and you just enjoy solo RPGs. You just enjoy the story. You enjoy the adventure that only an RPG system can deliver, to where you have that idea that you think it's going to go a certain way, and one dice roll changes everything. It takes it in a completely different direction that you never even thought of. Whatever it is, whether you're new, you're a veteran, you know, this book right here will help you out. Now, it is written for the 5th edition D&D. Now, for those of you guys out there that like older editions or other game systems, don't fret. Don't be like, oh God, it's 5th edition. Why is he talking? Okay, so if you were to come up to me and say, hey, Artichoke, I wrote this book. I have this book. It's really cool. I put all this cool stuff into it, and I want to publish it. What system do you think I should choose? You know, would you choose a system that not too many people hear about? You probably won't be able to find it on Amazon. You might be able to find it on eBay, but very unlikely. If you go to a game store, they might have an old, outdated copy that's been out of print for so many years in the back with a layer of dust on it, that they want an exuberant amount of money for it because, well, it's so rare. No, you're going to want to have a very commercially successful game. You're going to want to have it where it's very accessible, and to where you're going to be able to recuperate the money and the time that you put into it to be able to write and put this out there and get it back and get it distributed to the people. So I'm going to get into this a little bit more, and you're going to see what I'm talking about and understand. This book is an excellent book, and this is my opinion. You may disagree with me, or you may agree with me. Not sure, but let's get into this a little bit and talk about it. So the thing that is really cool about this book, particularly for solo, if you're a solo RPGist, you're a dungeon master watching this, what have you, is it has a section you can open it up, comes with the map, it'll give you the background, tell you the story hooks, it'll tell you everything about that, so you can run a small scenario. Perhaps you're maybe just getting into the solo thing. You have played tabletop playing games with a group of friends for a long time, and things have changed, and you just don't have that resource anymore, and you're like, I don't know where to start. I've always had somebody that DM'd it. Now I got to do this myself. How can I do this and still enjoy the gaming? This right here is a great resource to pull on. This right here, you're going to be able to open it up and you get a map. Everything's going to be laid out for you. If you're using 5th edition, the only thing you got to do is break out your character and have your encounter stats ready. Everything's done for you. If not, you're playing a different game system. The thing that they put in here is called the variant encounter, which is they even say it's optional. It's just the encounters 5th edition that they put in there. You could put whatever encounters you want in there. As a matter of fact, you don't even have to use it for fantasy, medieval. You can use this for whatever game system you're playing. Sci-fi, horror, the list goes on. You can pull on this resource to use that. It has quite a few maps and scenarios in here for you to go through. That's cool, particularly if you're a solo RPGer. Particularly if you're like me. You want to sit down, you want to try a new game system out, or you have an idea and you're like, but do I really want to sit down and play something like the Temple of Elemental Evil? Do I really want to drag it out for that long if I'm not sure if I'm going to like this game system or not? Then you could use something like this. And you would know, because you would get this depending on how you play. Now, when I say depending on how you play, let me clarify that. So, if you do solo play like I do, and you like to incorporate your miniatures, and you like to have your terrain set up, and you like that three-dimensional representation of the map that you set up, so as you play, you know where your characters are compared to where the encounters are on the board. You can count out the feet. You're able to look and say, hey, wait a minute. This particular encounter is not going to have line of sight on my character because this tree's here, or because there's this wall of the dungeon right here, or whatever it may be. Or if you're just theater of the mind. A lot of people enjoy theater of the mind. And if you're theater of the mind and you like using the old graph paper and going through it that way, it's all set up here. They already have that set out for you. So it's very cool. It's a very cool resource to pull on. The other thing that I noticed about this that's really, really cool, and I plan on incorporating this more into my game. Oh, and if you're asking, okay, does it have dungeons? Of course it has dungeons. How could it not have dungeons? So the other thing that I really, really liked about this book and how they set this up was brilliant. And this is the random NPC generator. The cool thing about this, the NPCs in here, they are not a game genre specific, if you know what I mean. So it's not just specific for D&D or just specific for Starfinder or whatever other system you're playing in. They are very generic to the point that you are... Let me just read a description for you and you're going to understand. So let me pick a number. Let me say 32. Because you have 100 of them to choose from. So let's go to 32. So the first name is Hunter. The last name is Ugda. That's unique. Ugdo, sorry. The brief description, with a door expression. With a der expression. Wants and needs. Who owns the town paper. Okay? Secret or obstacle. And is a part-time cult leader. Okay? Also carrying 7 copper pieces, 8 silver pieces, 2 gold pieces, and a dark artifact. Very cool. I mean, it gives you enough information there to where you could assign a class to it. You can also take what little they gave you and you can build on that, which is really, really, really cool. I mean, the fact that it's going to give you a brief description of basically the personality, paint that picture for you, what's driving that NPC, and the secret and or obstacle that it may have. And the list goes on and on and on. Now, for the solo RPG player, this is a valuable resource to be able to pull on because of the fact that one thing when you play solo RPG are your NPCs. That's the hardest thing. Generally, your DM is putting the NPCs in there and bringing that NPC to life. But when you play solo, you don't have that. Which is why I've explained when I use my NPCs in my solo RPG, I use them as a tool, as when I need them. Sometimes they're the bad guys, sometimes they're the good guys, sometimes if I need something and I'm near a settlement or an area where NPCs will be encountered, it's at that time, hey, put that NPC in the game and use them for that. There's no reason why you can't. So the list goes on with this book. It is an excellent, excellent book. I love it. I keep going back to it. And every time I go back through it and I flip through it, I find something new. And I'm like, wow, that is cool. That's a great thing. It's a really, really cool thing. Let me just read you a few of the things in here that it offers. Taverns, inns, shops, and guide halls. Temples, tombs, and crypts. The great outdoors. Homes, hideouts, labs, and lairs. Rooftops, alleyways, and tunnels. Randomized tables, and more. And literally, that's what they mean. Pretty much, I think the author really summed it up here. Well, actually, not the author. This is from Michael Shea. Is that who authored it? This is authored by Jeff Ashworth. It looks like it was forwarded. Yes, it was forwarded by Michael Shea. Sorry. There's a big forward here. Duh. And he writes, and it's so true. I'm going to read you a little bit of this to understand. There's a reason most tabletop RPGs always have more players wanting to play than game masters able to run games for them. Game mastering is hard work. It takes time to prepare. It takes time to organize and schedule. It takes time to come up with all those crazy stories that our players can fall into. With GMs, need help. We need tools to help us run these games. We need to fill in the infinite gaps in worlds that didn't exist until we thought of them. That's so very true. And as they're explaining in there those gaps, this book will help you out immensely. And like I said, don't worry that it's written in 5th edition. If you're playing an older edition of D&D, or you're playing a completely different game system, it's very minimal altering you'll have to do to actually use this book. I like how it's set up. It's very, very well thought out, very well laid out. I'll be honest with you, a lot of the seems like random encounter books that I have picked up lately just seem kind of like a hodgepodge thrown together mixture of a few tables here and there, and a few pictures thrown in for eye candy, if you will, to fill up spaces, maybe a page or two in the book, and that's pretty much about it. When it's said and done with, and you look at it, you're like, well, I mean, there's not a whole lot here that I couldn't have gotten out of the DM's guide, or I couldn't have got off of, Drive Through RPG in their free category for randomized tables for RPG systems. So, and I know we've all felt like that from time to time. And you look at a book, you look at the cover art, it looks awesome. You think you found a diamond in the rough, and it's going to be that one book that's like, this is what I've been waiting for, and you get it, and you're disappointed, you're let down. And I get it. I've been down that road more than once, my friends. This book, however, is not going to do that for you. So, right there. The Game Master's Book of Random Encounters. And you can find this now on, you can get this on eBay, you can get this on Amazon. I wouldn't even be surprised. I don't use this like Walmart.com, but I imagine if you were to go on Walmart.com, you'd probably be able to find it on there. So just for food for thought, my friends, food for thought to think about when you're shopping around, and I'm pretty sure you should be able to find that just about anywhere where they sell D&D. Heck, you might even be able to find it at Target. I don't know. Don't go to Target either, but I know they carry D&D stuff. Speaking of which, man, so I have to say, so much information, and this is a tabletop talk. I don't want this to turn into a book review or anything like that, but so much information that has just been inundated us lately, and I remain neutral, especially when it comes to political thing. And it wasn't until recently I heard that they were going to change the ability scores for the orc and the half orc in the D&D system for politically driven reasons, basically. And where I heard this from is a channel that I watch. It's called The Quartering, and I get a lot of my gaming news from. I was like in awe. I'm like, we're basing this on a mythological creature. We're basing this on if in fact we lived in a world where we had elves, let's say, so to speak, like if you were to think of it like Lord of the Rings, and you were to have elves like those, and they were corrupted and by the Dark Lord and turned into what they call orcs. Mythological all the way, 100% mythological. I just don't get it. Like I said, I'm not making this a political thing. It's not a political thing, but it's gaming related, and it, for me, I'm like, I have been a long time fan of D&D. Own every edition. And to do something like that, that's a game that's beloved by many, by hundreds of thousands. I mean, let's face it, D&D is the most commercially successful game in the world. There's no other tabletop role-playing game that touches it. And I'm not saying that to belittle or say anything bad about any other game systems out there. I'm really not, because I mean, I love Palladium. I love Palladium Fantasy just as much as I love D&D. I love RuneQuest, which is made by Chasm, just as much as I love Palladium D&D. Those are the name of a few, but it's like, why destroy something? Why try to fix something that's not broke? And I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. I think I'm going to leave that right there, because it's one of those topics I think people will it's, for me, I'm just going to leave it there, and I'm going to speak my piece on this. I'm just going to say it's a mythological creature. Mythological. That's it. I mean, it's mythological. It doesn't exist in our real life. It exists in our minds. It exists in the hearts and the minds of millions of people out there across the world in their own way. And with that, I'm going to leave it. But speaking of Dungeons and Dragons, and commercialism and all blah, 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 I seen something else that I was like, wow. And so anyways, I was heading out to my friend Eric's house he gifted me these books, and on the way I stopped, and I know like I said, he does a lot of electronic gaming, so I picked him up a couple of Sony Network. I picked him up a Sony Network card. You know, if you're familiar, you know what I'm talking about. If you're familiar with that. If not, then you buy this gift card, and you scratch it off, and you put this little number sequence into your console, and it adds that money. So I paid the money forward for him because he's on a fixed income, and I know for him he really enjoy it. Be able to give him some new downloadable content to put on the games he's playing, or maybe, you know, find some new games, whatever he wants to do with it. But anyways, I stopped at Walmart, and as I was walking around, because I had to go back to the game section to get this, I seen a display. I saw something that caught my eye. And let's talk about that. So, what I want to talk about are these guys right here. If you're not familiar with them, they're put out by Jada Toys, and they are compared to what you're going to pay for. Granted, these are more high quality miniatures that you see here. This is a Manticore, and of course it comes with, you know, the details and all that on the bottom of the base. I mean, heck, you can even see where the highlights were done with this, where the paint marks on the base are. So, I mean, that's more detailed. It's a more detailed miniature. But if you're just looking for some decent miniatures to put on the board, right? But you don't want to go broke. I mean, let's face it, miniatures are expensive depending on what you get into. Oh my God, are they expensive. And maybe you don't have the funds for that. And I get that. I really do. I have a huge miniature collection, but I've been collecting them over years and years and years and years. And buy a booster pack here or there, or I might, a couple of times I've been lucky and I've ran across a few lots that people were selling. They were just getting out of the hobby and they were selling the stuff, and I found them on eBay and bid on them and got them at a great price and put them into my collection. My friend Eric, just like that, I got more miniatures. He gave me his miniatures he had, and I put those into my collection. Whatever it may be. But for me, I've seen these and I'm like, that's cool, because I don't have a beholder. Now, I have dragons, but I haven't opened up the dragon yet. That's cool. It's heavy too. I'll open that up and we'll take a look at it. But these guys, so when it comes to detail, right? They got a basic paint job on them. I'll pull this guy out so you can take a look at him. Get him a little closer to the camera and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, these are not 28mm scale or 1-inch scale. They're a lot larger than that. I'll get them a little closer to the camera so you can see. They do have detail, okay? Considering they are die-cast metal, I mean, these babies are... I mean, let me get something I could tap on this so you can hear it. That's metal all day long, baby. Heavy, too. Now, the fact that it's die-cast metal, they did a quick paint job on it. But if you know how to do a wash, you could bring out the detail on this very easily. If not, you can find a tutorial on it. They're all over YouTube. People paint miniatures, people do wargaming terrain and all that, and they show you the tips and tricks. To make a wash is very simple. You just need a few basic tools for it and paint, and you could, you know, at that point bring a lot of the detail out if you wanted to do that, or just leave them as they are. Like I said, they come pre-painted. But for the price, you can't beat it. You really can't. So this pack right here set me back $4. More than that. It was like $4.80. So, which is just a little over $1 a miniature that are made out of steel. Now they're not 28mm. Now, if you take that and you compare that to the minis you see me use in my games, like these guys that are made out of resin, and they're pre-painted. Some of them are pre-painted. Others that I have received, I painted myself on my own paint jobs. And if you factor in that time that you put into it and the cost of the paints and the materials and all that you have wrapped up into it, not only that, so if you look at the price difference between this compared to this, and I mean, you could definitely see there's definitely a difference in scale, unless you don't mind about that. So this, you're looking at the neighborhood pre-painted like this resin miniature between $3 to $3.50 a piece. This is coming in at about $1.20, if that, $1.15 maybe a piece. So some things to consider if you're looking to pick up some minis for your board. You don't want to spend a whole lot of money, and I get it because you may not have a lot of money. With this pandemic, it's affected everybody. Things are different now. I totally get that. It's a quick, easy, very affordable way to do it. This pack right here, now that's a lot of metal right there. As a matter of fact, let's open this up and let's take a look at this. That set me back. It was $15. Oh man, they really want to make sure you don't. And they glued the sucker in there. Look at that. Thank God for a sharp knife. Ah, I see why they did that. Now that I cut two of them, this thing is flopping around in here. Okay, so I got this dude out. Wow. That is cool. I think I'm going to put that right up on the display. Now, the wings are flexible and they are made out of vinyl or resin, perhaps. as well as, oh wow. So the bottom jaw is made out of, it feels like a plastic or resin, but the head is all die cast. This is plastic right here that feels like it snaps in over the sculpt. But, I mean, you can see where they joined multiple pieces of this thing together. So a lot of work went into this assembly with this. Very detailed. It looks very, very cool. Holding this thing, I'm going to say it probably weighs every bit of at least 5 pounds. So, I mean, it's got some girth to it. Now, if you figure this compared to getting an actual... Let me grab this other dragon real quick. Sorry about that, folks. So, compared to this, so you figure I got these other miniatures that came with it. You can see them there. Should've. And this for 15 bucks. Compared to if you buy this resin, pre-painted, licensed D&D, as you can see, 2006, Wizards of the Coast, if I can get underneath the right light. There it is. If you were to try to buy a replica, this right now, it's going to be pretty expensive. Back in the day when I got this out of the huge booster pack, the huge booster packs used to go for right around 20 bucks. So you could say back when this was in print was $20. Back in the day. That's back in 2006. Now you're probably looking every bit of at least $60 for this, if not more. As with this dragon, and of course I lost the base. So you look at this guy. This guy came out of my Temple of Elemental Evil box set. Okay, granted the box set new when I bought that, I bought it on sale. It was 68 bucks, I think it was. So I mean, and all the other miniatures, it came with more miniatures, but I'm gonna say this guy probably came in just about the same. I'm gonna say probably about 20 bucks. And I had to highlight it and paint it because it did not come out of the box like that. You see how the claws, how I got they're whited out, how I got the shading on the tail, all of that. It did not come that way. It was just a completely black mold. And that's it. That's all you got. The dragon was completely black. You couldn't really see too much detail. I went over that and I dry brushed it and did that. But for this, hey, you can't go wrong. 15 bucks, cool. I mean, I'm going to put that up. I'm going to display that. It may show up in one of my RPG games as well. Classic. So the thing is, they are D&D. That is Dungeons and Dragons. It is licensed through Dungeons and Dragons. So it is an official Dungeons and Dragons product, which is really cool. And I mean, whoever came up with the idea to make it out of die-cast, it's a good idea. I mean, it really is. I like the plastic. I like this type of mini because of the fact that if I go, oops, and drop it, it's not going to break. I do like that about these. Whereas with this dude, you know, if you're holding this and you're showing one of your friends and you're holding it over the, you know, the wife's nice, pretty glass coffee table and you accidentally go, oops, it's probably going to go through the glass. I mean, it's that heavy. It's 5 pounds of steel. So, just things to, you know, food for thought I wanted to throw out there. The other thing I wanted to show you and talk about was the Beholder. What drew me into this was the Beholder. As long as I've been collecting minis and buying minis, I've never come across a Beholder. And when I have seen minis of the holders, they've been like ridiculously priced, and I just cannot bring myself to pay what they wanted for them. But you get this guy, and he's pretty well detailed. I mean, I could go over it with a wash, but I'll probably leave it as is. The cool thing is you get the little stand, and it's easily removable to put them in there. So when you have them on your game table and you have it on your terrain, totally clear pedestal. So it'll look very cool, particularly with the way I do my games and how I had the light and the shadowing coming, you know, onto my terrain tile. So this will actually look three-dimensional, like he is actually floating across the terrain, which is going to be pretty cool. Anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there, let you guys know, you know, there's things out there. I know when I did my update video, I'm like, that's it, I'm not buying it anymore. Okay, so if you read the description of my channel, in there I did mention my addiction to RPG games and war games. Yeah. Some people are addicted to drugs. Some people are addicted to alcohol. Some people are addicted to tobacco. Some people are addicted to prescription drugs. Me? I'm addicted to games. I guess that's not too bad. Till I run out of room. Won't run out of room. Maybe sell some of the stuff. Nah, I just wind up buying it again at a higher price. Anyways, with that thought in mind, I think I'm going to find a cool place in the display for my red dragon here. It's very cool. That is absolutely the flagship of this miniature line, is this red dragon. He is cool. Very cool. Alright, my friends. Haven't done a tabletop talk in a while. Haven't just sat down and chatted with you guys. If you guys are enjoying the videos, I'm so happy. They're going to keep coming. Don't worry about that. And like I said, just be patient for some of you out there. I know you want to see some different game systems, and I understand that. I just want to play through this 5th edition first. I want to get through the Temple of Elemental Evil. I want to see, this will be the third time. The first 2 times we're through Advanced D&D, and they were both in the original Temple of Elemental Evil. Total party kills. So I gotta see. I have to know. Now, if I go through this and it's a total party kill, I might have to just retire the Temple of Elemental Evil for a little while and just kind of re-strategize and think of a different way of doing it. Maybe the electronic version online. Probably a total party kill there. Well, I'm jinxing myself. I'll make it through. Alright, my friends. I think this video is just getting a little off track at this point. If you like this video, please click the like button. And if you have not subscribed, click the subscribe button followed by the bell icon. Every time this ugly mug uploads a new video, you will be notified about it. Alright, game on, my friends. And remember, friends, man. Remember the ones that cherish them times with. And because I'll tell you what, life moves fast. And we're only here for a very, very short time. So while you're here, you might as well game. Game on, my friends. I'll talk to you later.